Hey, you guys, welcome back to Rebuilding in Recovery. My name is Tracy. I am a recovering addict and a therapist. And Rebuilding in Recovery is where I share my recovery stories in hopes that I can help you build a better, happy, successful life after addiction. I am back today with another story time type segment. Now, keep in mind that these are kind of hard for me, you guys. These are literally my deepest, darkest, most embarrassing, and sometimes even traumatizing moments of my life that I am sharing on the internet. And I do this for a few reasons. I struggled with being embarrassed of my past for many, many years in my early recovery, and I just don't think that we need to be embarrassed of our past. And we're not going to be able to grow and move forward until we accept our past as part of who we are and we're proud of it. I mean, no, I'm never going to be proud that I was an addict, but I'm proud at what I have accomplished since then. I'm proud of that hill that I have climbed, and you should be too. I don't live in shame anymore. I don't want you to live in shame, and if hearing my stories help you realize that you are not the only one out there, then that is great. Honestly, if my time here on YouTube can help one single person, then it was worth it. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what it is like to not only detox from opiates, but what it is like to detox from opiates in an isolation cell. Now, you guys, I spent years and years as an IV heroin user, so I have detoxed many times in many ways. But this detox was by far the worst, hardest one that I have ever had. Now, to give you a little bit of context, I am taking you back to 2013. This was the height of my addiction. I was on probably one of my hardest runs yet. I was using literally all day, every day. So really, I was going very hard, and I needed to be stopped. It needed to stop at that point. I was on the run from arrest warrants. I was on probation, and I knew that I was going to fail my drug screen. Now, when you're on probation and you fail a drug screen, they arrest you immediately. So I didn't go back to probation because I knew that they would arrest me, and I didn't want to detox in jail. I wanted to try and detox myself or go to a facility prior to serving my time. So I was trying to avoid that. I was on the run. I had been on the run for a few months, and living on the run is really rough. I was even staying in somebody's cellar for a while because I did not want to go home. So it was December 23rd at this time, the day before Christmas Eve, and I wanted to go back home and spend Christmas with my family. So I went back home the day before Christmas Eve, and that very night I was at my mom's house, and I was getting ready to lay down and go to sleep, and I hear it. I hear the knock. Now, for those of you who have ever had a cop show up at your house, you are familiar with the knock. It is a very distinct knock, and you know who it is before you even open the door, if you open the door. But my mom did open the door, and so they busted in. Now, keep in mind, I am a 90-pound, strung-out, non-violent offender. I am not O.J. Simpson. I didn't kill anybody. They come in here, 4 or 5 cops deep. They surround me, guns drawn, get down on the ground, you're under arrest. Like, it was a really dramatic experience, and I feel really bad that my mom had to see that. That was probably really traumatizing for her, and I just don't think it was necessary to do it that way. So I was like, okay, let me gather up my whites and we'll go. Okay, so they take me into the county jail. I am from a very small rural community, so this is a very small jail. Keep that in mind also throughout this story. So we had a little issue during booking. I guess at one point I had my hand kind of like by my mouth, and the guards became absolutely convinced that I had swallowed something. Inmates will swallow bagged drugs before they get arrested. That way they can poop them out, dig through their feces, share it with their friends, and have a good time. When they saw my hand by my mouth, they automatically assumed that I had swallowed something. Now, I honestly did not. And if any of my guards are watching right now, I can honestly say that I did not, if you are still wondering that to this day. But because they were convinced that I had, and they didn't want me to poop out my drugs in the middle of the jail, were trying to do what they had to do to keep drugs from entering the jail. So they began to threaten me. They threatened me with cavity searches. They threatened me with more charges. They threatened to pump my stomach, all kinds of nonsense. And then finally they were like, we are going to take you to the hospital and they are going to pump your stomach if you do not admit to this. Like, again, I did not swallow anything. Okay, then we're going to the hospital. I think that it was meant to be a threat. Like, they thought that I would come clean at that point, but because I really didn't swallow anything, We were off to the hospital, which again was very embarrassing for me. We live in a very small town, so if you show up at your local hospital in an orange jumpsuit, shackled around the ankles and handcuffs, it's going to be the talk of the town, and you're guaranteed to run into a few people that you know, which I'm sure I did. We go to the emergency room, and the doctor is basically like, she says that she didn't swallow anything, so there's nothing that I can do. Completely pointless trip. So they put me in the drunk tank because they don't know what to do with me, right? The drunk tank is a small concrete room with a toilet and a scratchy blanket, and in my case, I did have a cellmate. I had a very large brown spider. Other than that, nothing in there. Now, you got to keep in mind, I was going very hard on heroin at this point. I could honestly only go about 4 to 6 hours between use before I would start to get sick. Withdrawal came on very quickly, and it came on very intensely. And by the time I was in the drunk tank for a day or two, I was in full-blown withdrawal. It's kind of impossible to describe withdrawal to someone who has not been through it. A lot of people compare it to the flu, but I actually don't think that it is anything like the flu. You know, when you have the flu, you don't feel well, but you can lay down on the couch with a comfy blanket and a movie and chicken noodle soup, and you can tough it out. You can't do that with withdrawal. There's no getting comfy on the couch. There's no toughing it out. You are in a level of discomfort that is unbearable. I would honestly not wish it on my worst enemy. There are people who go to great lengths to avoid detox. Well, I don't think my description will do it justice. I will give it a go. So one of the first things that happen in withdrawal is your body temperature starts to be unable to regulate itself. So you will be covered in goosebumps and dripping sweat at the same time, which actually causes a very distinct and unpleasant smell. Additionally, when you are on dope, it kind of feels like your nerve endings are coated in something comfy, like you're just like warm and comfortable. And then when you stop using, it feels like that something is lifted. At that point, your nerve endings are live wires. You are very sensitive to the touch. You are very sensitive to hot and cold. If someone were to put like a cold water bottle up against your arm when you are in detox, it is going to be very unpleasant. Everything is just very heightened. Your senses, again, are very heightened. If you try and like smoke a cigarette, you're gonna like gag or throw up. Your eyes are watering, your nose is sensitive, like just everything. You start to get really bad cramps and diarrhea. You basically pee out your butt for weeks. And on top of all of that, there is a level of anxiety that comes with detox also, because you know that there's only one thing that's going to help you, and you know that you don't have that thing. And it causes you to kind of panic because you know how awful this is going to be, and you want it to go away, and you can't make it go away. It's just awful. You can't sit still. A lot of people have restless leg syndrome. I kind of had restless arm syndrome. My arms drove me so crazy that I wanted to rip them off. By the time they brought me out of this drunk tank, I was in full-blown withdrawal. Now, because they thought that I was going to poop out drugs at any time and share them with people, they decided to put me in an isolation cell for about 2 weeks while I finished my detox. An isolation cell is basically a jail within a jail. It is a very small one-man cell. It is about the size of 2 twin beds put together. It has a bunk and a toilet, and that's it. And you are in that cell 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, sometimes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, depending on what guard you have. There is absolutely nothing in an isolation cell, and that is what made it so hard for me being in detox, because there was absolutely nothing to distract myself. There was nothing to read. There was no phone to call anybody. I couldn't take a shower. I couldn't talk to anybody. There was nothing. I had literally nothing to do but sit there and writhe in pain. Now, for those of you that have been in detox, you know that the only thing that is going to help you for even just a few minutes is a hot shower. If you can get a scalding shower, it's going to calm your skin and calm you down for a couple of minutes. Most of the time in this ISO cell, I did not even have that. I would oftentimes get on the button and ask them to take a shower. A lot of times, if the guards were nice, they would say yes, and they'd be like, again, really? This is your 6th shower today. Be like, yeah, dude, you have no idea. And some of them would say no, and I wouldn't shower for a day or two. It got to the point where I would get on the button and be like, listen, I sharted all over myself. You have to let me take a shower. And they would be like, you're gross, but okay. And that is how my detox went. That is how I spent my time for about 2 weeks while I was in this ISO cell. I went from literally writhing in pain, sometimes taking a shower, and that's it for like 2 weeks. That's how I spent my time. There are no medications that are really going to fully take away the symptoms of detox, but there are a lot of medications that will help make it easier and more bearable. Some jails do give out medication. Mine did not give out any medications. I did not at any time see a nurse or a medical provider. I did have a staff member pop his head in once and say, "Hey, Kraft, are you still alive?" And he said, "Okay, bye-bye." And that was the extent of my medical care. Now, opioid detox is said to not be life-threatening. You could experience complications from dehydration and things like that. Other detoxes are a lot more life-threatening. Detox from alcohol, detox from benzodiazepines. Those detoxes are actually very dangerous. They can result in seizures, and there have actually been cases that I have seen on the news. There was a man in Virginia who recently died from alcohol detox and neglect while being incarcerated. So it is definitely ideal to have medical attention during a detox. Now, detox is different for everybody. I would say that the hardcore symptoms are going to last for a week or two. After that, more minor symptoms, just kind of being uncomfortable, not being able to sleep, kind of body temperature regulation issues, those are going to persist for a few months. I will say by the time I rode out to prison, which was at about 2 or 3 months in, I felt okay physically. I felt okay by then. 2 or 3 months is what it took for me to get right. And I mean, on one hand, I am grateful that I was able to detox, because I had tried over and over again to detox myself, and it doesn't work. It just does. You can't do it yourself. Some people might be able to, but I couldn't. I could never do that. So I am grateful that I did get clean. That was the last detox that I have ever went through. That was my last arrest. I've not been back to jail. I have not been back on heroin since then. But the thing is that when you are at your lowest moment, when you feel so sick that you think that you're going to die, and the people around you treat you like an animal, they treat you like you're less than human. They threaten you and lock you in a cage and give you no medical attention or even showers. That does something to your self-esteem. Now, I am somebody who has always struggled with self-esteem. Ever since middle school, self-esteem has been a major issue for me. It's always been low. And this experience, this degradation that I faced while incarcerated, it really instilled a sense of worthlessness deep in my bones. And I carried that worthlessness with me for years into my early recovery. I mean, I am at a point now in my life, I'm definitely at my most comfortable, at my most confident, but at the same time, I still feel like I will always kind of struggle with low self-esteem, with imposter syndrome and things like that. It's just a part of incarceration that I don't think is necessary. And it's a part that certainly doesn't work towards healing addiction. I mean, basically, you're taking somebody who already has some issues and you're putting them in a cage and you're giving them even more problems. Then you're sending them out into the world and saying, "Okay, now do better or you're going to be in trouble again." How does that work? Make it make sense. I don't get it. I mean, I do get it. Rehabilitation is not the goal, and that's very, very clear. But that's another topic that I will surely dive into one day. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions for videos, drop them below in the comments. I will be happy to touch on them. But that's my story. Thank you guys for watching. I have new videos coming out every Saturday. I'm starting to put them out a little bit in between there also. So if you hit the subscribe button, you hit the bell, you will get notifications right when my videos come out. And again, please like, subscribe, comment, share this with somebody else in early recovery who you think it might benefit. It really helps to support the channel and keep it going. You can also connect with me on my other platforms. I have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I also have recently started a recovery support group. It is called the Rebuilder Society. You can find information on that below the video. And that's all for now. So I will see you guys next Saturday.